My name is Katherine Elaine Porter, and this is how everything was taken from me. I used to believe I had a good life. Not perfect, but safe. I lived in a quiet neighborhood outside Columbus, Ohio, a brick house with white shutters, hydrangeas along the walkway, a porch swing my husband built the summer we moved in. His name was Daniel Porter. For 17 years, he was my best friend. We met in college, fell in love fast, built everything from scratch. When he started his small construction company, I handled the books. Late nights at the kitchen table, receipts spread everywhere. We didn't have much in the beginning, but we had each other. We had Sunday pancakes, movie nights, long drives with no destination. I believed in him. I believed in us. If someone had told me that one day I would lose my marriage, my home, my reputation, all because of a woman half my age, I would have laughed. I trusted Daniel completely. That was my first mistake. The first sign was small. He started working late. More client dinners. More emergency site visits. He bought new shirts, expensive cologne, started going to the gym at 5 a.m. I told myself I was being insecure. After 17 years, love doesn't look like fireworks. It looks like routine, comfort, silence that feels safe. Or at least, I thought it did. One night, I found a receipt in his jeans pocket. A restaurant in downtown Columbus. One of those dim, candlelit places we used to save up for anniversaries. 2 entrees, 2 glasses of wine, a dessert we used to share. The date wasn't our anniversary. It wasn't my birthday. I stared at that paper for a long time. My hands didn't shake. Not yet. When I asked him about it, he didn't hesitate. Client meeting, he said. Calm. Casual. I nodded, and I swallowed the feeling in my throat. Because loving someone for 17 years teaches you how to ignore your instincts. 2 weeks later, I saw her. Her name was Madison Reed. Blonde, 28, marketing consultant for his company. I found out later. But that day, I just saw them together. At a cafe. His hand on her lower back. Her laughing at something he said. The way he used to make me laugh. I didn't confront him immediately. I drove home, sat in my kitchen, stared at the hydrangeas outside the window. I felt something inside me shift. Not anger. Not yet. Something colder. That night, I asked him directly, "Are you seeing someone?" He didn't even look ashamed. He looked tired. Yes. Just like that. 17 years. Reduced to one word. I remember the sound of the refrigerator humming. The ticking of the wall clock. How long? I asked. 6 months. 6 months. Half a year of lies. Half a year of kissing me goodbye in the morning. And going to her. I didn't mean for it to happen, he said. They always say that. He told me he was unhappy. That we had grown apart. That she made him feel alive. Alive. As if I had been a coffin. I begged. I did. That's the part I'm not proud of. I cried. I asked for counseling. I asked for time. 17 years deserves time. But he had already decided. A week later, he moved out. Not to an apartment. To her condo. And that was when the humiliation began. Because Madison wasn't quiet about it. She posted photos. Subtle at first. A man's watch on her nightstand. 2 wine glasses. Then a full picture of them at a rooftop bar. Caption: "Sometimes you have to choose happiness." My friend saw it. Our neighbor saw it. My sister called me in tears. I stopped going to church. Stopped answering calls. But the real betrayal wasn't the affair. It was what he did next. Daniel filed for divorce. And in his filing, he claimed I had mismanaged company funds, that I had drained accounts, that I had been financially irresponsible. It was a lie. A calculated one. Because if he painted me as unstable, irresponsible, he could protect more of his assets. The business I helped build, the house I helped pay for, everything. Suddenly, I wasn't just the cheated wife. I was the unstable one, the greedy one. His lawyer was aggressive.
At 2:17 a.m.,
cold.
the phone rang inside the Ashford County 911 dispatch center. It was the kind of hour when most calls are drunk arguments, car accidents, or the kind of emergency that splits a life in two. Dispatcher Karen Holt answered on the second ring. 911, what's your emergency? There was breathing. Fast. Shaky. Almost rehearsed. My wife, I think she's dead. The voice belonged to Daniel Harper, 34 years old, high school history teacher, clean record, known around the small Ohio town of Millbrook as polite, soft-spoken, devoted. What happened, sir? I woke up and she was on the kitchen floor. There's blood. I don't know what happened. Please hurry. In the background, there was nothing. No crying, no movement, no chaos, just stillness. Police arrived at 2:26 a.m. Emily Harper was lying on the cold tile floor of her kitchen, 29 years old, nurse at Millbrook Regional Hospital. Blonde hair fanned out like a broken halo, a single deep wound at the back of her head. No sign of forced entry, no overturned furniture, no broken glass. The house looked peaceful, too peaceful. Daniel was sitting on the couch when officers walked in. His hands were clean, no visible injuries. His eyes were red, but dry. He kept repeating the same sentence. I don't know what happened. Detective Marcus Hale stepped into the kitchen and knelt beside Emily's body. He'd worked homicides for 17 years, and something felt wrong. The wound didn't match a simple fall. It was too precise, too direct. The medical examiner would later confirm it. Blunt force trauma from a solid object. Not a countertop, not an accident. A weapon. But no weapon was found in the house. Daniel told officers he went to bed at 11 p.m. Emily had stayed up finishing paperwork. He claimed he slept straight through the night until he woke at 2 a.m. to use the bathroom. That's when I found her, he said. He looked devastated. He sounded devastated. And yet, he never once asked who could have done it. Millbrook was the kind of town where people didn't lock their doors. The idea that someone had slipped in, killed a young nurse, and slipped out without a trace terrified everyone. Police canvassed neighbors. No one saw anything. No strange cars, no footsteps in the snow. Security cameras from nearby homes showed nothing unusual between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. Daniel's clothes from that night were tested. No blood, no fibers, nothing. Detective Hale sat across from him in the interview room the next morning. Did you and Emily argue recently? No, we were good, really good. Financial problems? No. Affair? Hale hesitated, a pause that lasted half a second too long. No. It turned out Emily had recently increased her life insurance policy $200,000. Daniel was the sole beneficiary. But she had done it herself, as part of a hospital benefits update, perfectly normal. Friends described them as the perfect couple, high school sweethearts, never loud, never dramatic. Too perfect. Forensic analysis found microscopic traces of cleaning solution on the kitchen floor, more concentrated near the sink than the rest of the tiles. But the house had always been clean. Emily was meticulous. There were no fingerprints on any possible blunt objects. The case stalled. Weeks turned into months, without a weapon, without witnesses, without motive. The district attorney hesitated. Circumstantial suspicion wasn't enough. Daniel attended Emily's funeral in a black suit. He cried. He hugged her parents. He stood by her casket longer than anyone. And when reporters asked how he was holding up, he said, "I just want justice." By the end of that year, the case officially shifted from active homicide to unsolved. Millbrook moved on, but Detective Hale didn't. He replayed a 911 call in his car some nights, over and over. There was something there, something small, something buried, but he couldn't name it, and without proof, instincts meant nothing. 5 years passed. Daniel Harper left Millbrook. He sold the house, moved to Columbus, remarried, started fresh. Emily's parents, Linda and Thomas Bennett, never stopped fighting. Every anniversary of her death, they placed flowers at the edge of the property where the old house once stood. The new owners had renovated everything. New floors, new cabinets, fresh paint, like she had never existed there. Detective Hale retired 2 years after the case went cold, but he kept the file, a cardboard box in his basement. Inside it were crime scene photos, lab reports, transcripts, and a CD labeled 911 Call, Harper. One winter night, nearly 8 years after Emily's death, Hale's wife found him sitting at the kitchen table with headphones on. "You're listening to that again?" she asked gently. He nodded. "It's there," he whispered. "I just can't grab it." He pressed play. Daniel's voice filled the room, breathing, shaking. "My wife, I think she's dead." Hale closed his eyes, and this time he focused not on what Daniel said, but on what he didn't say. No attempt on CPR, no calling her name, no panic about an intruder still in the house, just reporting, like he had already accepted the outcome. And then, a faint sound in the background. 3 soft beeps. Hale froze, rewound, listened again. 3 electronic tones, close together. He leaned forward. Those weren't random. They were rhythmic, measured, like a keypad. But what keypad? The sound wasn't loud enough to notice unless you were searching for it, and now he was. Hale contacted the original dispatcher, Karen Holt, who had since moved to another county. She remembered the call vividly. He was calm, too calm, but that happens sometimes. Shock. "Did you hear any background noise?" She thought for a moment. "I remember thinking it was quiet. No TV, no footsteps, just him." Hale enhanced the audio with help from a former colleague. The 3 beeps were isolated, frequency matched. It wasn't random. It was an alarm, being disarmed, at 2:16 a.m., 1 minute before the call was placed. But according to Daniel, he had been asleep. So who turned off the alarm, and why? Hale brought the findings to the new Ashford County detective, Rachel Monroe. At first, she was skeptical. 8 years old, no new evidence, but the timestamp changed everything. The security company still had archived logs. At 2:16 a.m., the Ashford home alarm was disarmed using the master code, a code only Daniel and Emily knew.
and there were no signs of forced entry, meaning if an intruder had entered earlier, the alarm would have been triggered, unless there was no intruder. Monroe subpoenaed Daniel's phone records from that night.